Joining me now is Missouri Congressman, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith. Mr. Chairman, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be with you, Maria.
So do you think all of President Trump's plans, including that tax deductibility on car loans, would get through Congress?
I'll tell you, we'll know who the players are going to be on the field on November 6th, hopefully, and that will determine what tax priorities we can get. If we have Republican House, Republican Senate, and then President Trump in the White House, you talk about the best economy that we will see following that. We saw in the first 4 years of President Trump, the best economy in my lifetime. And under Vice President Harris's administration, we've also witnessed one of the worst economies. We've seen every American, Maria, face a 20.5% inflation tax on everything that they purchase. Even people who make less than $400,000 a year have had an inflation tax created by Vice President Harris, where she was the tie-breaking vote on the policies that created and fueled inflation.
So you said, yes, it'll all get through depending on who's in the seats in Congress. How are you feeling about that? I mean, do you think there is a chance that the Republicans get a sweep?
You know, I'm pretty excited. I've been traveling all over the country, been to 32 different states, helping our colleagues because it's important to grow the majority. I absolutely believe we're going to grow the majority in the House and we're going to win the United States Senate. I've set up 10 different tax teams, Maria, since April, preparing for the opportunity of a trifecta form of government with President Trump that we can extend his tax cuts from 2017. If we don't extend those tax cuts, every single American will face a $4.6 trillion tax increase, whether you make more than $400,000 a year or less than $400,000. So the child tax credit, which helps a lot of working families, Maria, will get slashed in half. It goes from $2,000 to $1,000. And the guaranteed deduction, which 92% of all Americans use to file their taxes, that gets slashed in half, and all the individual rates will go up. Our country cannot handle this after they have now faced a 20.5% inflation tax just to put food on their table, clothes on their backs, and gasoline in their cars.
Well, I mean, look, Kamala Harris keeps claiming that, you know, the rich don't pay their fair share. She's asking more Americans to pay their fair share. But then we're looking at where some of that money is going, and it's raising eyebrows. More than $150 billion was spent on the migrant crisis last year alone. That is the result of the wide open border and having to care and house many of these people. Your reaction to this ongoing situation, which you're not going to be able to change overnight, are you?
We're not going to be able to change it overnight, but we'll be able to change it quickly. I actually believe that number is more closer to $400 billion since Vice President Harris has been in office. And why? Why has this border crisis been created? It's because of the 94 executive actions of the Biden-Harris administration in the first 100 days on immigration, reversing the very successful immigration policies of President Trump. We saw more people cross the southern border illegally in the first year of the Biden-Harris administration than all 4 years combined under President Trump. President Trump will secure the border. He'll revert back to the effective policies that he had in place and that Biden-Harris reversed. I mean, Vice President Harris, she was the border czar. She was in charge of this disaster. The last thing we need to do is put her in charge of the United States.
Well, I think what more people are worried about is the issue of unvetting and the fact that so many people are getting through that were either on the terrorist watch list or have been convicted of murder, convicted of rape, and they are now here in this country running around the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, causing death and destruction across America. I mean, that's really where the concerns are, not necessarily just the volume of people, Congressman.
That's exactly right. We know that there's been more than 350 terrorists that have crossed the southern border under the watch of the Harris and Biden administration. We also know that every state is a border state. Maria, it doesn't matter what state you live in. In my home state of Missouri, we've seen illegal immigrants from Venezuela stab individuals in a laundromat in St. Louis. We saw numerous individuals that have lost their life because because of illegal criminals that have crossed the southern border that are running rampant across our country.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. And we're not hearing any solutions when we hear from Kamala Harris. I mean, she said now she is going to secure the border. She even went as far as suggesting that she would pay for a wall, Congressman. Very different than what we've heard from her over the last 4 years as vice president.
You know, Vice President Harris is trying to say anything that she possibly can to get elected. We know her values. We saw when she ran for president. We know where she stands, whether it's supporting the Green New Deal, whether it's a completely open border, whether it's increasing taxes on all Americans. These are policies that she has said with her own lips. We got to pay attention to her words.
Yeah. All right. We will leave it there. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here this weekend.